Same-sex marriage. Joining me now is Richard Socarides, former White House advisor to President Obama, also quoted multiple times in this particular article I was referencing. Richard, thanks for joining me. In the article, they quote you as saying, "I think this federalizes the issue much more quickly than the White House would have liked and may force them to take a position earlier than they would have liked."
Right. Well, we remember back, it was just last May when President Obama said that he personally supported the right of Americans, same-sex couples, to marry. And that was a huge deal. First time a president had ever done that. The president's been, a real leader on gay rights, perhaps the most, done more things than any other president ever before him. But he has not said that the U.S. Constitution guarantees that right to everyone in every state. And because, of his background as a constitutional law scholar, where he stands on this and where his Justice Department stands on this is now very important, because the Supreme Court has said we're going to decide this.
What about those who say the president now should just wait? Is that an appropriate reaction, or is that what some conservatives would call leading from behind, as they've criticized him in other parts of his foreign policy, for example?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it leading from behind, because the president certainly has done the opposite in this area. He's been a true leader. But now that the Supreme Court has said we're going to take up this issue of whether or not the federal Constitution guarantees same-sex couples a right to marry, I think we need to hear from the Justice Department. And the Justice Department will say whatever the president tells them to say.
And we've heard from the Justice Department on DOMA,
right,
but not with Prop A,
right,
which makes it all the more curious.
Yes. Well, the Justice Department has, again, had a leadership position on overturning the Defense of Marriage Act. But if you take the legal position they have advocated in the Defense of Marriage Act cases and you apply it to a situation like Proposition 8, all of those anti-gay laws go by the wayside. So it's really just a question of them taking the arguments they made in one case and making them again in this other case.
Right, and I want to read a little bit from an Associated Press article on the fear and hope some have regarding gay marriage. They write, "Gay marriage supporters see 41 reasons to fret over the Supreme Court's decision to take up the case of California's ban on same-sex unions. While 9 states allow same-sex partners to marry or will soon, 41 states do not. Of those, 30 have written gay marriage bans into their state's constitution."
Yeah, I'm not that worried, and the reason is because I think that the Supreme Court would have only taken these cases if they thought that they were ripe for a decision that moves the country forward. So I think that the only question is, are we going to get a decision that moves us incrementally forward in terms of the expansion of rights for gays and lesbian Americans, or are we going to get a decision that's historic on the level of like Brown versus Board of Education?
How likely do you believe that we will hear from the president before the Supreme Court makes a decision?
I think we will, because I think that they understand that they're going to have to say something, even if they don't say something in a brief, in a written memorandum. When this case is argued before the Supreme Court, the Solicitor General is going to be asked, what do you think about these same-sex marriage cases? So I think they're going to get that, and we're going to hear from the president. It may be slightly nuanced, like he is sometimes very good at doing, but I think everybody knows where the president stands on this. It is difficult to say that in these 30 states where there are anti-gay marriage laws, that all those state constitutions should be overridden, but that's where we're headed.
Richard, thank you very much. Great
Thank
pleasure
you.
having you on. We'll see you soon. Coming up.
And the thought that we may have played